I'm on my way to interview the owner of an interesting car. I'm on my way to talk to Peter about his Renault 12 rally car. Or should that be Renault? Well, I'm nearly there, so I'll talk to you in a minute. I'm here today talking to Peter about his wonderful Renault 12. Or should it be Renault?
Renault will do. Renault will do.
Renault? Is that the Australian terminology?
That's the Australian terminology.
Now, how long have you owned this this Renault?
I bought him in '93. So that's what?
A long time ago?
A long time ago. Too long ago. But I bought him in '93 for $100.
$100?
Yeah.
Well, $93, $100, well, still wasn't much money.
Well, it wasn't much money. No, it was
about a day's pay, I think, wasn't it?
If that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was an automatic that wouldn't go backwards.
Right.
Yeah. And a young friend of mine found it, bloke by the name of Dominic Nyman, who's been in our club. He had a 12 that I'd let him have a little bit before that. He found this one, was going to wreck it. He said, I'll go your halves in it, $50 each. He said, I want the body, you can have all the mechanicals. I said, yeah, that sounds all right. He said, I need somewhere to store it. So he brought it up to where I worked, delivered it. I took one look at it and thought, this is too good to wreck. So I gave him the other $50 and said, I'll have the car.
Right.
I'm going to put it back on the road.
So how long before that did it go from being a road car to a rally car?
We started rallying it almost immediately, but we didn't build it to what it is now until we were preparing it for the 98 round Australia rally. So in about 96 we started rebuilding the car as per a works replica Renault 12 TS. I got all the specs from the FIA and from Renault on what to do, and we just built it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So did that involve underside protection, a sump guard? And
Sump guard, etc. Various bits of strengthening in certain places that it needs. But other than that, not a lot.
So engine mechanically it was basically a Renault 12?
It's a Renault 12, yeah, it's exactly, yes.
And it stood up to what's it, 17,000 kilometres around Australia?
Yeah, actually 18,500 Ks we put it up, but we did have a problem. Up in Dingo Tops, we actually dropped a valve guide.
Oh, okay.
Luckily, we did it in the service park.
What were you doing revving the engine in the service
Well,
park?
we didn't. We just finished a 180k stage and we went into the service park just for a check out, let it cool down, and we refueled it, etc. Went to start it up to go, and as it fired, it dropped the valve guide straight away. So I turned it off. I thought, right, that's it, we've got a problem. We carried a spare head in the service crew, and in the pouring rain, Des West and I changed the head in about 3/4 of an hour. Right, so we put that on it, and we drove it then to the end of the event.
Yeah.
And but
because what size engine's this?
1289 cc, 4-cylinder 1289.
So it would have been on flat chat revs for that whole 18,000 k, just about.
I had, even in the transports, and the transport stages had 98k averages on them.
Yep.
I had to drive it absolutely flat out just to keep up with the other cars.
So when it got back, how long did the motor last before you had to rebuild it after that?
Well, on the way back from Adelaide at the end of the event, at Hay it went on to 3 cylinders. So we drove it from Hay back to Newcastle on 3 cylinders. The next day I took the rocker cover off and it's missing 2 push rods. Like, they're not visible. But yeah, we've got a problem here, definitely got a problem. So we delve into it. what's left of the push rods is down the holes. The camshaft was wrecked. We had a ding in a piston.
So it got you through the event, and
so I
then
got
said,
through
no,
the event, and then
enough.
that was it. So
Yeah.
then I put another camshaft in it, put 2 new push rods in it, changed 1 barrel and piston. By the way, we didn't even take the engine out of the car, it was still in the car. So it's all done in the car.
Yep.
Put it all back together, and I rallied it for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Before we built the motor that's in it now.
What about suspension and under the car? Is under the car scarred from that event?
Not particularly. There's a few scrapes and bangs, but not much. The biggest trouble we had with it was the front suspension, because when we were building it, I ordered new springs for it. When they arrived, we fitted the new springs, took it out for a test run, and they collapsed straight away because they hadn't been tempered properly. The mob that made them was only too happy to fix them, but they couldn't get them back to me in time to fit them to the car before the event. So I bought a set of French standard springs for it. So they were station wagon springs. Put them in it in the front, and that's how we started the event. Down near Ceduna, I nosedived it, blew both front shock absorbers and flattened the springs. I came in at the service point with the front near dragging on the ground, and there's West going, what have you done to it now? We changed the springs. There we had a spare set of springs which were its own original springs. We put them back in it.
Yep.
And then we drove from Ceduna to Norseman, absolutely flat stick to get in time, otherwise we would have been out a late time.
Yep.
But we made it with about 10 minutes to spare. So
what about shock absorbers? I was talking to someone who rallied a Falcon in the Outback Trial, and it was like every day changing shock absorbers.
No, we changed those 2 when we did the problem, and I had good spares we put in. They lasted the rest of the event. We broke 1 rear spring and 1 shock absorber up the northwest.
Right.
We changed them at Curtin Air Base. But other than that, no.
About the brakes, I suppose it's a fairly light car, isn't it?
Yeah, it's light.
So the brakes didn't...
No, the brakes on this are good.
Are you a hard man on the brakes, or are you just drive it flat out, man?
Oh no, we use the brakes. That's part of keeping it where you want it to go and stabilising it. But yeah, we use the brakes. But it's got ventilated discs on the front, it's 9-inch drums on the back that are all for Renault 17. But that's what the factory did when the factory set them up to rally them when they were new as the TS's, as opposed to a Gordini. It's not a Gordini. It's a TS. They put the Renault 17 ventilated discs on them and the big drums.
So about was there much night running in that event? Was it
not a lot?
Not
but
a lot.
We did a few runs at night. Mostly either very early if you started like a 3 o'clock in the morning start, or a late. You might have a late night like a midnight finish.
So electrically it stood up. It didn't.
Yeah. Well, we put an 80
kill
amp
the alternator.
We put an 80 amp alternator on.
Yeah. I can remember when they were a big alternator.
Yeah, well, that's right. But it's we put the 80 amp on it, and it held up. The battery lasted the whole trip. The alternator lasted the whole trip. So yeah, it was pretty.
How about you? How did you last the whole trip in your Navigator? Was it an event before the soft, cushy, big girls blouse type events where they make you have long rest breaks and that? Was this a long days?
Yeah, these were. We did 18,500 k's in 21 days with 1 rest break, 1 rest day. Right?
Did you sleep at all during that time?
I did, because that's the way I plan. That's the way I approach an event is finish, make sure the car's right, have something to eat, shower and bed. So you're ready the next day, up and into it again.
Was this event a camp night? Were you sleeping on the ground, or were you luxury motel?
No, we Lloyd Hughes, who was my navigator, had booked the whole event with motels right round. So
Yep.
that suited me fine.
Yeah, that'd be make it a lot better.
That helped.
Yeah.
And we had a service crew, and this, the guy who ran the service crew was Des West.
Yep.
And he, what happened when we put the car into Parc Ferme, they'd come around and pick us up and take us to the motel. And that was pretty good.
Yep.
That all worked. So we had those little luxuries.
So since that event, of course, it's gone on to do many more events.
Oh yeah. We still compete in historics today. Like this last year with COVID's been a bit dead, but
you can say that again.
I'm hoping that this year we'll get some events in.
It's been the big thing this year. There's been nothing on at all. It's been very slow.
It's dead.
So was there any off-road excursions that, obviously...
Minor. He's got a ding down there.
Yeah.
That was a mallee tree.
Yeah.
In Western Australia, and we're on a stage, pushing it as hard as we could. I came around a bend, and there, sitting in the middle of the bull dust hole, was the Datsun Stanza bogged. And I've got nowhere to go, so I went down the right-hand side of him. That looked like the biggest gap. The low branch of the mallee tree clobbered that.
Yep.
And I took his wing mirror off as I went past him. So
I've always been lucky with off-road excursions. There's never been anything actually to hit where I've gone off.
But no, we haven't, on the Round Australia, no, we didn't actually didn't leave the road once.
Oh, okay, so in other events have we put some damage on it?
No damage, we had a few spins and things like that. They had the one event down south in winter, very cold, drizzly, snowy day. The carburetor froze. And as I came into a corner, I've set it up to go into the corner, and the frozen carburetor decided we're not having any more petrol for a bit, so the engine stopped right in the middle of the corner and we spun it.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, we haven't. It's a very easy car to drive quickly, especially in difficult conditions.
Really?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, that's what rallying's about. I laugh at the modern rally. At Coffs Harbour there one time, they had a night stage and all the modern rally drivers were, oh no, we can't do that. and I sort of thought, well, wusses,
Well, I look forward to night stages. I like driving at night.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, especially from the early days, was most of it was at night, and you couldn't see over the edge.
Yep.
So you didn't, quite often, didn't know.
Wasn't until the next day that you went back to help a friend who had run off that you realised there was a sheer drop there the night before.
That's right.
And your bravery that you had the night before has disappeared a little bit,
Yeah, you think, but my track's about that far off the edge. Could have been.
I always remember at the end of a stage, my navigator handed me the route chart and said, what do you think these little men on parachutes mean? And it was like, well, I think that's a sheer drop we just went past.
Yeah, that's over the side.
Yeah.
So, we've never seriously crashed him, it's never been rolled or anything like that.
Yep.
He's been a rally car longer than he was a road car.
Yeah.
So when I bought him, it was automatic, it wouldn't go backwards. So we enlisted the help of Tony Cross at Bellevue Motors, put a manual in it, got it all done. It's got all sorts of little modifications that were done because it's a rally car. And most of those came from Renault themselves. They told us how to build it.
Yep.
It's not very fast, right? It's absolutely flat stick down a hill. It's about 160 k's an hour is as fast as it'll go.
Yeah.
But it's got the ability, it's got good mid-range torque, and it's got the ability to climb very well in third gear and tight stuff. It's very good.
Did it change direction well? Or?
Yeah, turns in instantly. You've got to sort out what happens after that. It's
because front-wheel drive cars have a reputation for sort of going straight ahead.
Not this one. This is a front-wheel drive car that oversteers.
Right.
On a downhill, off-cambered, loose surface, if you turn the wheel, it will turn immediately.
Really?
But you've got to sort out what happens after that because the tail will go out.
Right.
And you've got to catch it.
Yeah.
but it's interesting to drive, but it's also makes it easy because it's quite predictable.
Does the handbrake work in these, or do you need to use it? Is it?
It does, but I don't use it very often. I don't need it.
Yeah.
You can scan it over and flick it into a corner very easily.
Yeah.
And it just goes round. It's good.
Right. Well, there you go, eh?
A lot of fun to drive.
Yeah.
As I said, we did the whole around Australia rally, completed it. We won our class.
Yeah.
I've got to qualify that because we were the only car in the class. But we completed the entire event, and we got the trophy for the under 1300 historic class.
Completing the event, I think, would be an achievement in itself.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people. One of the funny sides of that event was we weren't a party to it I didn't really find out till the end what was going on. But all the heroes and the experts who know all about rallying and rally driving but don't actually drive rally cars.
Yep, I know.
Were making bets that this thing wouldn't finish.
Yep.
So their first bet that we wouldn't make it to Perth. So there was a $500 bet on that. We wouldn't make it to Perth. The next bet was $1,000 we wouldn't get to Darwin. Then the next lot, each leg was 500. So when we got back to Adelaide to the finish. So I got up on the stage to collect the trophy because we were first up with a lark, because they start in reverse order. So we got the trophy, and I just said, I heard there's been some gambling on this little car of mine. For all of those who supported us, thank you. Collect your money. Right, for those who bet against us, you'd better pay up.
Thanks for the donation,
Yeah, we're here. So, yes, it was good. I've got to admit, the 2 round Australias I've done, one with Ron and Kerry Fraser in '95 in the Peugeot, and the one we did in this one was probably 2 of the best events I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I'd do another one, drop of a hat.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think they seem to be something that's not going to happen again.
Not easily.
No. Even the less special stagey thing like I did Sydney to Coffs Harbour, where you're going to venues. You go to Ringwood Hill Climb, you go to Kempsey Hill Climb, you go to various venues, and maybe a little short stage in the forest. Even those events don't seem to be happening anymore.
No, it's getting too hard to set.
There's a big basket called the Too Hard basket, and I think everything's been bundled into that.
Yeah, I think we need to go back to basics and start again.
Yep.
Right. Run an event. We don't tell anybody we're running the event. We just run it.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for that little chat about the mighty Renault.
That's all right. Thank you.
No worries.
That's all right.
I'm Crack McMullard. Bye for now.